and then, you know, I get some clothes and everything because I got the Jewish identification. So I came into to the office of the chief of the camp. He was a big, tall, handsome, nice guy, and so he translates and he shows him the identifications. The guy looks at that, and he looks at me straight, and he says, "Are you Jewish?" He asked the guy. So I figured, what the heck? I said, "Yes, I am." So the first thing that he said to me, he says, "What the hell are you doing here?" There was the translation. I said, "Well, I signed up for the Legion, and you know, and in any case, anything wrong? It's okay, everything?" And he says, "Sure, I'll give you a pass," and you go to Salgo, but you have to come back because you're in the list here. I can't, you know. But he did give me a pass to go to Salgo, and he even gave me some money to use for the train. And I go to Salgo, and there was the first train early in the morning, and I get out of the train, and there was not too many people on the street, but from far away I see somebody that looked like a rabbi to me, from far away, you know, dressed up. You know, I figure, oh my God, you know. So I come close, and sure enough, he had that big cross over here. So there wasn't really a rabbi. But I did ask him, I said, "Is there any Jewish people that I can," you know, so he suggested where to go, and they looked at me. He says, they didn't believe me I'm Jewish. They want to see if I'm circumcised. Otherwise, they didn't believe me that I'm Jewish. And anyways, they immediately took me over, and they dressed me up, and they couldn't have been nicer. But I had only 2 days, and I had to go back. And I told them, I said, I'll ask him again to give me another pass to come again, and maybe there's a way for me to go to the American zone, which is what I want to do. Sure enough, I went back, and it took like another week, and I went to the chief again, and I said, "Can you give me another couple of days, you know, to go back there?" And sure. So he gave me back. At that time, a Polish lady, which was doing black market with bananas from this French zone to the American zone, and pick up American cigarettes from the American zone and bring them to the French zone. So that nice lady, which I'll never forget her face, she had a beautiful gun over here. And I did a Jewish ask her, I said, "What's with this?" He says, "Well, you got to pay off. But if they don't take the money, there's no other way. We got to go over the border." I mean, there was no question about it. There was some tough lady there. In any case, they got me all the way back into bananas, so nothing happened. We just went over the border. And we arrived near Heidenheim in Germany. And of course, they let me loose. And there was a place there, another camp, they called it the Polizeischule. And where they used to train the police over there. And it was full of people that came from concentration camps and from other countries. And so I found myself a place over there. Of course, they received me right away. And they gave me a job as displaced person police, and I do have a picture of that. And this displaced person police, you go in town, and you check that no displaced people supposed to be in any clubs or anything in the evenings. So you go with the German police together. And if you find one, then you take them back to the camp. So I was one of those that are supposed to do that. Not too many times I had to do that, but in any case, in that camp I joined the Jewish underground, which was at that time the Begin, Menachem Begin groups. They called it the Irgun Zwei Leumi. And I joined them. And I joined them because my thought was that someday I'll wind up maybe in Israel. And I forgot to say that when I was in Romania and before everything else happened, if you have a lot of money, some people had a lot of money, kids of my ages, they paid off to the Romanian government and they put them on a truck and they got them out of Romania and they wound up in Israel. My father didn't have that kind of money, so I looked at my friends in that truck, and I'll never forget. They were saved, thank God, and we went to the forced labor. But in any case, so I stayed there for a few months. I don't remember exactly how much, but I stayed there for quite a while, a couple of months or so, 2-3 months, and then we went from there to Austria back, and that's where I left. That's where I met my first wife. We were both about the same age, like about 18. And at that place, we were training people that go to Israel, and I was trained to train. I was trained to be able to take a parabellum with the eyes closed, take it apart, and put it back together. And that was at the border of Yugoslavia, and that's where I met my first wife, which she wasn't even Jewish, she was German, but she came in with a Jewish name because she was going with somebody else before, and he wanted her to come to Israel, and the only way to go to Israel, change the papers, and I didn't know. But in any case, it didn't matter. We fell in love, and we got married in Austria. And then there was the question of going to Israel. And of course, at that time, the British were there still in Israel. And you couldn't go to Israel because they would turn you over to Cyprus. You can't stay in Israel. I mean, you can't, any boats cannot. But oh my God, the trip, we were supposed to go from Austria to Italy. And you got to go over the Alps illegally. And we were hoping that at the other side there'll be people waiting for us with papers, so we become okay. And it was quite an experience because we started like 5 o'clock in the morning at one side of the Alps, and we go the other side. We arrived there like about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was carrying some people had a couple of kids and everything because there was mixed groups already. And it was quite an experience to go across. But we did, and we were hiding in a hay place where they have hay. So, I don't know, 30, 40 people of us were there, one over the other, and it was horrible. But the decision was to wait because we were supposed to have somebody coming in to pick us up. There was supposed to be a truck to pick us up with the papers. Well, we didn't know what happened, and it took too long, and people were getting already upset and miserable and hungry and horrible. They could kill you if you just moved a little, because everybody was so tired and hungry and upset. But we decided to give up. We decided to let the gendarmes find us, which they did right away. So they took us in one of the Italian jails, and they were nice. They were very nice people, no problem. But they had to, we didn't have any papers, we were illegal. So they got the woman in one room, and they got the man in the other room. And this happened that it was during that time, there was the Jewish holiday that somebody talked to the police, to the gendarmes there, and suggested that maybe somebody goes out in town because they still have some Italian money to buy some food, really, and they allowed us to do that. And they were very nice to us, and and we had the food. As a matter of fact, they let us even pray, you know, because it was a holiday. It was a high holiday at the time. And then the decision was that we have to be turned back to Austria. So they got us to the train stations, and they got us to the Austrian border. And when we arrived to the Austrian border, the Americans looked at the papers and everything, and they saw who we were. And I'll never forget. I looked out, and they said, "Let them go." And that was it. So we were in the American zone. And that was good, thank God. So we were in the American zone, and then later on, of course, we did go to Italy in different ways, not anymore over the border, you know. And we got into one of the ships. The name of it was Caserta, and it was a cargo ship, not a passenger ship. But it took some days, and we were in there, and the boat was going like this because there were too many people on one side. So we, the younger people, had to pick up some of those people and bring them onto the other side so we can get the boat okay. They were serving some food, of course, and everything, but that's the only thing that the Jewish agency could do, to rent a boat like this and to get us into Israel. Well, the British was still there. And we were the only ship that they allowed us to come in. That was at the end of the whole thing. So Caserta came in, because all the other ships everybody was sent to Cyprus. And we got into Israel. Got into Israel, they sent us to a camp in Israel. One of the camps they already provided for people that came from all over the world. So I stayed there for a while, and I practiced some dentistry over there, and we had the baby. The baby is now like 50-something, 56, 57 years old. And then, of course, they called me in to get into the service for a year and a half, and near Tel Aviv in Yafo, they had a special clinic for the whole army, really, with all the specialties that anyone in the country, in any place that they've been, they had to come to our clinic. And dentistry was already occupied with many dentists, so they got me into a skin and venereal disease doctor to work with him, which was a wonderful thing, because Dr. Glaserus used to be in the British Army, and he taught me some fantastic things. I took care of syphilis, I took care of a lot of things. I used to sit at the desk and look at the patient, and I used to already write a prescription. I knew exactly what he's going to do. He used to give shots, taught me to give the shots, which was extraordinary. Matter of fact, when I came to the States, I thought maybe I become I get into that, but I should have maybe. And then, of course, I was going from camp to camp, giving anti-typhus, tetanus shots. Had the nurses over there line up the soldiers in every camp, and I done the shots. So I done my share of this for about a year and a half. And then I came back to Tel Aviv, and we didn't get along well, my wife, and we decided to separate, which we did. So she had the son for a while. Then, I don't know how long it took exactly, but I did meet an American girl. And that was it. I mean, she actually came to Israel to find somebody, and she did. And we got married in Israel, and of course I waited for a while to get the entry into the United States, and it took a while. And then when I got the papers, I immediately started to work on my coming into the States. In the meantime, my ex-wife put my son into a children's home, a very nice one, and my father was already in Israel with his new wife. And then when I got the papers, I immediately started to work on my coming into the States. In the meantime, my ex-wife put my son into a children's home, a very nice one, and my father was already in Israel with his new wife, and he was not too far away from my son, and he was there for, well, I came into the States in 1955, and supposedly you don't get a citizenship until 1960. And I came in on a Friday night, and Monday morning I was already working on Wabash Avenue. And I remember I was making like about $40 a week. But some restaurants, you know, you can have a fantastic meal for $1. It was unbelievable good. I couldn't believe that. And then I looked at the restaurants, you know, where people throwing away all that meat and everything, you know, at that time. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe that it could be like that, you know, because where I come from, I mean, even in Israel, there wasn't, you know, don't throw nothing away. But in any case, so again, that's why she wanted me to, I wanted to send money to my son, and she knew I have my son over there, and then she decided that, no, let your wife take care of it. Well, I don't want you to get involved. So we started not getting along at all, because I did want to send money, because it has to be sent money to the kid. I even have in my papers here, I started to not only working during the week, but I got a cab driving license, and I was driving a cab on Friday nights and Saturday, just so I can make some extra money to send it to my kids over there, to my son, which I did. And then, of course, I got myself a little room that, you know, like $7 a week. I bought a radio,